Brace yourself for the kind of fear that reshapes your sleep. I don't even know if this is the right place for a story like this, but I can't think of anywhere else to say it out loud. So I'm putting it here. I've told everyone who would listen, my family, my neighbors, friends, even local reporters. It's never enough. I can't explain it, but I feel obligated to warn as many people as I can about what's been happening to me. So here goes. It's October 2021 as I'm recording this, but the story goes way back, 7 years at least. Maybe more. I can't tell you the exact year off the top of my head. Call it 2014. Could have been 2015. That's my best guess. Back then I was in my mid-20s. Steady job, serious girlfriend, now my fiance. I never went to college, so I'd already been working a while, and nothing about my life suggested a big change on the horizon. No reason to move, no reason to leave home. Around that time, my fiance and I moved into my childhood house, a place my parents graciously passed down to me. It's an old brick place in Maple Hollow, Vermont. The kind of house you feel more than see when you pull up at night. My dad inherited it from his folks when he turned 40, and now it was mine. Keeping it in the family felt right. The house has had a few renovations, but you can still feel the age in the bones. The brick gives it away. Not many brick houses around us, so it sticks out. I kind of liked that. Made it feel special. We live in a wooded neighborhood, so every place is spaced out. Ours sits at the end of the lane, last lot. So instead of bordering the woods on one side, we bordered on two. And those woods? Massive. I mean, massive. As a kid, my brothers and I would explore for hours and never get close to seeing all of it. Some people would find that intimidating. Not me. I like the quiet, always have. Being tucked into my own little corner of the earth sounded perfect. We'd been there a few months when all of this started. It was winter, can't remember which month. Just that snow covered everything. It was a Sunday, sometime after 8, the one day I get to sleep in. I climbed into my pickup, ready to go grab my ritual coffee when I noticed something off. Footprints. A trail in the snow, right beside the driver's side. My first thought? My fiance must have been up early, slipped out without waking me, and walked the drive for something. But the longer I looked, the less sense that made. The prints came from the tree line, through a small hole in our side fence, and stopped at my driver's door. They didn't lead near the porch. They didn't wrap around the house. They just came to the truck and went back to the woods. A straight line there and a straight line back. It was bizarre. I asked my fiance about it later that day. Of course, she hadn't gone outside. I wish I remembered more about that first time. But it was so long ago, that's all I've got. It was at least 2 winters after that when the next thing happened. I remember it being 2016, the year the Panthers lost the Super Bowl to Peyton Manning. That morning, I stepped out and knew something was wrong. There were footprints everywhere. In the driveway, beneath the windows, all along the perimeter of the house. Like someone had traced every inch of our property in the night. I'm level-headed, but I'd be lying if I said I was calm. I was also late for work and didn't have time to study anything up close. I at least ran a quick lap around the yard to make sure no one was hiding, then texted my fiance from the car so she wouldn't freak. I couldn't shake it. I left work early because it crawled under my skin and sat there. By the time I got home, my fiance had made a shocking discovery. She waved me into the backyard and pointed at a trail that had been bothering her all day. It took me a second to understand, then I saw it. There were no shoe patterns in the prints. Whoever had walked our property had done it barefoot. I felt stupid for not noticing. Who walks barefoot in sub-freezing weather? She wondered if it could be an animal, but no. These looked like human feet, 2 of them, heel to toe, clear as day. We called my dad. He'd lived there most of his life. He'd never seen anything like it. He told me to grab my rifle and track the prints into the woods. I didn't want to, but it felt like my responsibility. My fiance wanted to call the police. I figured it was pointless. There was no evidence of a crime, and trespassing in the snow wasn't going to kick up a full search. I told her I'd call if I found anything out there. She agreed. Those woods are their own world. I told myself I'd turn back as soon as the sun dipped. I slung the rifle and followed the trail. Maybe 30 minutes in, something strange happened. The trail split 2 paths, 2 sets of prints, diverging. I stood there unsure which to follow. I'd assumed I was tracking one person. The idea of two, out there barefoot, didn't sit right. I felt outnumbered. I stared a little longer, then turned back. It was getting dark. On the way home, I kept turning it over in my head. If there were two people, I would have noticed, right? The prints were too clean to be someone trying to step exactly where the other stepped. Maybe someone walked backward to make it look like two, or doubled back on themselves, or carried someone and set them down. I didn't like any of the possibilities. We did call the cops that night, but it went how I expected. Without evidence of a crime, there wasn't much they could do. I told my fiance I'd go back out in the morning, but it dumped snow overnight. By sunrise, the yard was smooth as a blank page. No prints, nothing to follow. She was terrified. We were stuck. That was the last thing that winter. And then, for years, nothing. Life happened, we got engaged. We focused on everything else. We almost forgot. I wouldn't be telling you this if it ended there. What happened next was this year. Just after the new year, January, I woke up to footprints all over the property. Like flipping a switch, all the old fear came rushing back. My fiance broke down in the bedroom, asked me if we'd ever escape this. I didn't have an answer. It was worse this time. Prints led straight to the shed. A bunch of tools were missing. Whoever it was had been close. Too close. I was furious. I called my friend Mason, told him everything, and asked if he'd help me track whoever did this. Mason's a wilderness guy, more experienced than me. One of the reasons I called him. He agreed and drove over a few hours later. My fiance was worried sick. I promised we'd be careful. We layered up, grabbed packs, and headed out. I wasn't as worried about the dark because Mason brought a thermal scope for his AR-10. Expensive, serious gear. He could see even in low visibility. I couldn't, but it helped knowing at least one of us could. I won't sugarcoat it. I was scared. We talked at first, but after 45 minutes, we got quiet. The seriousness hit us both. Eventually, just like before, the track split. We took the left path for a few minutes, and it ended. Dead stop. We doubled back to the fork. Mason muttered that whoever we were following didn't want to be followed. We kept at it, and it kept happening. Another dead end and another, wasting daylight. It was like someone was walking backward, perfectly. No telltale scuffs, no double-stomped snow. Not normal. The only upside, Mason said, was that the dead ends suggested we were probably dealing with one person, not a crew. It got dark. We were deep in. I didn't recognize anything. The trail didn't split for a long stretch after that. Mason guessed whoever we were on had given up on the fake-outs. 5 minutes later, the prints got deeper. More weight, more urgency. We were close. And then another set appeared, right alongside the original. Mason cursed under his breath. He'd been wrong. We were tracking two. The light was gone. He checked his scope more often. The snow gave me a little visibility, but if not for that scope, I would have turned around. We walked without a word. Then Mason's arm shot in front of me, blocking my chest, telling me to stop. He stared through the scope, silent, still as stone. 20 seconds, maybe more. He slid to a nearby tree and crouched. I followed. He looked again, and his hand trembled. Another 20 seconds of nothing but our breath in the cold. I tapped his shoulder. He lowered the rifle and handed it to me. I looked through the thermal and bit back a sound I didn't recognize as my own. There were 4 figures huddled in the snow. At first I thought bears, but they weren't. They were human. 2 large, 2 small. The smaller ones clung to a tree, jerking their heads in sharp, unnatural angles. They were eating something. Thermal doesn't give you faces, not really, but I could see enough. They were naked. It was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen with my own eyes. After a minute, the larger 2 lifted the smaller, set them on their shoulders, and walked deeper into the trees. Gone. Mason and I sat under that limb for what felt like an hour. We didn't move, not until we were sure they couldn't hear us. By the time we made it home hours later, my fiancée was still awake. She couldn't sleep, not knowing we were out there. She asked what we found. I told her as little as I could. It didn't help. We called the police. They said they'd search first thing in the morning. Mason stayed the night to help. At dawn, we went back with the officers. We showed them the roots. The prints were partly covered. After a few hours, they called it off. They said they couldn't sanction a full search over a few missing tools. I don't blame them, but it didn't feel like closure. Mason and I know what we saw. Winter's closing in again, and both of us are worried they'll return. We're talking seriously about moving, but haven't gotten the ball rolling. I don't know what to think anymore. I've told everyone who will listen. It's been going on for years. None of our neighbors have experienced anything like it, which doesn't make sense. Why us? What do they want? Some friends say they're harmless. Others say I'm in real danger. I'm going to try to seal the yard off from the woods. Taller fence, cameras, floodlights. I don't know what else to do. Hopefully, we can get out soon.